is a good time to start. So good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to AMGC's webinar on cyber hygiene and how to protect your business from cyber threats. This will be delivered in partnership with Global Tech Partners, and today we'll be hearing from their Managing Director, Josh Brown. Before I hand over to Josh, I'll just take you through a little bit about the background of AMGC and our industry growth program offering. So AMGC is the peak industry body representing Australian manufacturers. We provide services and solutions on all things manufacturing to both industry and government. AMGC represents about 220,000 employees across the country with a network of 12,000 and a membership base of 4,400 companies. Our experience includes co-investment and management of government funds, providing support to manufacturers, hosting networking events, and most recently our AMGC Connect service under the Industry Growth Program, which you are all members of, and how you are joining us today. So I'll explain a little bit more about our AMGC Connect offering through the IGP. It can be broken down into three main areas. So we have our one-to-one services, which is where you engage directly with someone from our team and receive advice tailored to you and your business, usually solving a problem you are facing in your business. We then have our one-to-few offerings where we are doing things like our best practice tours, showcasing other manufacturers in our network and hosting small leadership roundtables. And then we have our one-to-many offerings, which is things like our webinar series, and that's what today is. Today is a one-to-many offering. And today's webinar is with Global Tech Partners. Global Tech Partners was established in 2021 and has offices in Australia and New Zealand. They're an elite boutique firm specialising in cybersecurity and security training for small and medium-sized businesses. Josh Brown, who will be leading the webinar today, is the Managing Director, and he has had a career spanning government departments in Australia and New Zealand, non-profits and leading financial firms. So Josh, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and you're going to kick off the webinar.
So thank you so much, Amelia, for that introduction. I really appreciate it. As I was mentioning earlier on, we've had a tree cutting machine pull out outside the front of my my house. I'm working from home today, so I hope I hope it's not going to be too much noise. And if there is, please let me know. They look to be finished though. But let me share my screen now. Okay, the window going. Okay. Okay. I'll share this screen here. Sorry about this. Okay. Can you see my screen, Amelia?
Yeah, we can see the screen.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, fantastic. So thanks everybody for joining. Yeah, this is a practical cyber hygiene guide for manufacturers. It's about keeping your business safe from online threats. The focus is manufacturing, but I think the points here is relevant to most businesses, especially small and medium-sized businesses. And this training is really for operational staff, management. It's an all-round presentation covering, everybody that works within a business. Your IT team will probably be aware of many of the points raised here, but I think this is good for everybody else who works in the business. So the presentation today, the training, aligns with Dynamic Standards International, which is essentially a cybersecurity standard. And yeah, it's a real honor and a pleasure to be partnering with AMGC for this presentation. Okay, so why does cybersecurity matter? Well, cybersecurity matters because, this is just an introductory slide, but you've probably heard of the increase in cyber attacks, uh, especially with AI, now enabling cybersecurity attacks. Not just uh, before it was a problem, now we're seeing a huge exponential increase in the number of attacks simply because they're only a prompt away. And the fact is that operational staff sit on the front line, whether it's email or phone or any sort of system or interface with the electronic world or online world, there will be a risk. Now, what's at stake? There's your customers, there's operations, so the downtime. You've got safety. It's not just about physical systems and OT, but it's also about your people as well. Reputation, headlines, and word of mouth. Imagine the damage that a cyber attack could cause if a business or your customers found out that you've been attacked. Finances, so fraud, the cost of the systems not just being attacked, but also, what if they were able to cause damage and you'd had to replace some of your systems? Ransom attack, recovery, and fines. And of course, the operational staff, being attacked, whether it's any type of attack, it causes mental health issues, but it's also a problem for management as well. In fact, any type of attack that causes damage will affect your business in many different ways. So this used to be an issue, but now this is something that it's not just a nice to have. Cybersecurity protection is not just a nice to have, it's a must have. Okay, so I just want to mention this couple of statistics that actually 62% of SMBs have experienced a cybersecurity incident, and 68% consider it a top priority. 48% of SMBs reported that they spent less than $500 on cybersecurity per year. Only 18% spent more than 5,000. And this is statistics from the cybersecurity survey last year in 2025. Almost half of SMBs rated their cybersecurity understanding as average or below average and had poor cybersecurity practices. 80% rated cybersecurity as important to very important. But actually, even those statistics note that cybersecurity is becoming more and more important for small and medium-sized businesses. 61% of SMBs will not survive a serious cyber attack. So, yeah, there's some dire statistics. There's a lot of work to do within the SMB sector, and they say that a company should spend about 1 to 2% on cybersecurity, and 1 to 2% of your turnover on cybersecurity protection. Okay, so why cyber hygiene matters? Well, cybersecurity, manufacturing SMBs are the most targeted, but they're the least resourced. You have very large companies being able to spare a couple of $1,000 or a lot more, being able to allocate that to cybersecurity. But when you're trying to allocate every single dollar to making money, actually cybersecurity might fall down the list of priorities. And it shouldn't be like that, because actually, especially for manufacturing is one of the most targeted sectors in Australia. In fact, actually, it's about 26% of all cyber attacks now target manufacturing. Below that, you have finance and insurance, and around 18 to 19%. And I've got some statistics here as well, that 71% of manufacturing firms have been hit by ransomware in the past 2 years, and that 4.7 million is the average cost of a manufacturing cyber incident. Now, this is actually from America, these statistics, but I do believe that it's probably similar to Australia as well. In fact, I'd say Australia and New Zealand are actually even more vulnerable. Now, while cyber attacks on major organizations make headlines, small and medium-sized businesses are frequently the most vulnerable. And I guess the limited resources it's a double-edged sword because the limited resources make SMBs attractive targets, and they're less able to absorb the impact of a breach. So, for example, when it comes to a ransom attack, they're less likely to be able, well, they might pay it, but yeah, they're less able to absorb the impact of that. And ransom attackers know this. So why is manufacturing most targeted? Well, you have legacy OT systems where that were never designed with security in mind. IT-OT convergence has created a massive new attack surface. And third-party vendor access is an uncontrolled open door, and downtime makes manufacturers ideal ransomware victims. So you can see here the flow. You've got the IT network and cloud, lateral movement, you might have an unmanaged switch, and then you might have a target, so a ransomware deployment, and then you have the controllers and the systems that are just, you're not able to patch it, either because they're legacy or because they're, for whatever reason, they might be, unique. So, yeah, you're not able to patch them. So there is a vulnerability, there is a weakness there. So 47% of manufacturing breach involved ransomware attacks. And I have another statistic here that says 62% of manufacturers paid the ransom. And actually, that's the highest rate in any industry. But those who paid recovered only 46% of data on average. So even if you are attacked with a ransom attack, you're not guaranteed to get back your data. Only 46% of people who paid recovered. Of those who paid recovered only 46% of data on average. So let's understand what a cyber threat is. Okay, common threats to recognize and the attack surface. Now you might hear of an attack surface. It's basically the total sum of all points, vulnerabilities, or pathways where an unauthorized user can access a system, network, or application to steal data or launch a cyber attack. I mean, there's many different ways here, right? There's phishing emails, password attacks, a USB, third-party vendor, supply chain attacks, social engineering, malware, business email compromise, insider mistakes. And I'd say many people in this call have probably noticed one of these, whether it's a phishing email or it's a virus held on a USB key. Most people these days understand that cyber threats are real. But what do attackers want? Well, they want money. They want to halt your operation. Okay, so that's a ransom. That can be a ransom attack. Access, a foothold for later, potentially. Data and business info. So you might have IP being threatened, and also extortion, and that usually is about influence, and usually that's committed by a state actor. But that's least likely. Most attackers pretty much just want money. Now, 74% of all breaches involve a human element. So that could be stolen credential or social engineering. But phishing is actually the number one initial access vector. 80% of hacking-related breaches involve stolen, weak, or reused credentials. Okay. Now, strategic benefits of stronger cyber controls, and we'll shortly get into them. But the strategic benefits, it's not just about protection. Actually, great cybersecurity controls can lead to financial benefits as well. So, we're talking about high-value partnerships, tenders that can reduce insurance premiums. So it's not just an overhead. There are actually benefits. There actually can be financial benefits, including grants as well. Now, so it's about threat protection, it's about business continuity, it's about operational efficiency, trust, compliance, and market access, and innovation, and basically spurring innovation. Along with cybersecurity comes an interest in innovation and using AI to protect your business. The 10 essential cybersecurity controls. So we have here 10 here. They are aligned, as I mentioned, with Dynamic Standards International, and our certification partner is CyberCert. Now, when you decide to apply or gain your bronze certification with CyberCert, these controls cover the main security questions that you'll be asked to respond to in the bronze cybersecurity certification. And then I would very much recommend everybody in this call, if they don't already, to go out and get that bronze certification through CyberCert. I believe it is free, the bronze certification, but we would recommend achieving gold certification. It's not just great for insurance, but it's also great for your customers. It's also great for your supply chain partners. So I would highly recommend that. This training, at least you become aware of what's required as part of that certification process. So let's get into it. I do not want to take too much time here explaining. I don't want it to be too dry. So I will ask some questions along the way. But yeah, let's see how we go. Okay, so the first one I want to discuss is multi-factor authentication. So, okay, so hands up if you ever use multi-factor authentication on your personal email. Okay. All right, fantastic. So, most people actually don't use multi-factor authentication for personal email. They might use it for a business, but even then, it's not used as much as it should be. But it is actually every single login, especially the important logins, whether it's a bank account or Xero or whatever you've got, MFA should be used for everything. It's probably the number one way to protect your, secure your login access to anything. It's basically a verification step beyond passwords. Users provide 2 or more factors before accessing an account. Why does it matter? Well, passwords can be stolen or reused, and MFA blocks unauthorized access even if a password is compromised. It can be something you know, such as a PIN. These days you have passkeys, what's known as passkeys, where you're using a number on your computer to log in to to supplement any credential, something you have. So it can be a phone or hardware token. So you may have used Microsoft Authenticator or Google Authenticator, or something you are, so a fingerprint or face scan, and that's a little bit less common, but on your phone you might have a fingerprint, for example. Now, what we recommend is that, there are people who hold multiple MFA tools, such as, they might have both Google Authenticator or Microsoft Authenticator, but we just use the one. We just recommend using the one, and we recommend naming each appropriately, because once you actually start getting quite a few on your phone, it can be hard to find the right one unless it's named properly. Okay, so the next control I'd like to talk about is password management. So we recommend strong, unique credentials for every account. Now, some logins you're not able to use an MFA. In that case, yeah, password management is definitely necessary. But even if you use an MFA, we recommend a strong password. At our global tech partners, we work with clients, and we recommend 1Password. But there's many out there that basically act as a password manager. A password manager is an encrypted vault that holds long, unique passwords for every site. And if you're not using a password manager, we recommend manual rotation of passwords. So strong, unique passwords updated at least twice a year through account settings. Now, as you can imagine, passwords are everything. They're every part of your business. So I just like to ask, guys, how many online accounts do you reckon you have, work and personal combined? if you've got, say, 100 accounts, can you remember 100 strong, unique passwords without help? Well, yeah, I don't think anybody really remembers 100 unique passwords. So we recommend a password manager for this reason. And we don't recommend writing them down either. Okay, the third control we'd like to talk about is backups and data protection. Now, I should say that data protection is, backups are a subset of data protection. Um, Data protection is about keeping your information safe from loss, theft, or misuse and handling it responsibly. Okay? In practice, it covers things like only collecting what you need, controlling who can access it, encrypting sensitive files, and disposing of it securely. Data protection and AI is a current concern. Okay? Now, the 3-2-1 backup rule, when it comes to backups, is keep 3 copies of your data, 2 different types of media, and 1 copy stored off-site. And why is it important? Well, imagine if you dropped your work laptop in the river on the way home. What would you lose? Okay, would you lose your logins? Would you lose the unsaved documents that you held on your computer that you didn't save to the network? What would you lose? Perhaps you saved a spreadsheet locally because the system went down, or you're working on it on the train. The photos on your phone, or that site report. There are a lot of information that's held on your computer or on your phone, and you have to secure copies of that data. I mean, I remember back in the 1990s, and you might remember as well, when you basically be working on an assignment for university or a school, and your computer will all of a sudden, you'd get the blue screen of death, and everything would disappear. How annoying was that, right? How annoying was that? You'd have to restart the computer and it wouldn't save and you'd lose everything. That happened to me more than a couple of times. It was probably the most infuriating thing that could happen to you. Now everything's saved automatically on the cloud, but not everything. And it's really important to have that backup in place. Now, it's not just about your computer. We recommend this for the entire organization. For a great backup company to use, we recommend Back Online. They're great for SMBs. That's backonline.com.au. We don't have any relationship to them, but we use them for when we work with our customers. Okay, so the fourth control I'd like to talk about is antivirus and endpoint protection. So, what is it? Okay, so everybody's heard of an antivirus protection. It's basically something that you use that detects and blocks and removes viruses, trojans, and ransomware for laptops, desktops, and mobile devices. But really, if you're going to begin your site, I mean, this is for companies or startups with less than 5 employees. An antivirus is fine. But once you start growing, once you start scaling, if you have more than 5 employees or even more than 5 endpoints, an endpoint is a computer, mobile phone, or iPad. If you have more than 5, we recommend endpoint protection, which is more holistic. It combines antivirus, encryption, patching, and monitoring to stop threats at the device before they spread to the wider network. And there are many types of endpoint protection out there. We recommend Cynet. It's one of the strongest, but there are many out there such as Sophos. You have also CrowdStrike you may have heard of. There's many out there, and they all do similar things, but there are great endpoint protection companies that focus on manufacturing as well. Why it matters? It's a critical first line of defense, okay? So you say that people are your first line of defense, but actually antivirus is your, your technical first line of defense. Without it, every device on your network is fully exposed to evolving malware, and malware is evolving fast. So AI enables. So I just want to talk about AI for a second, because not only is an AI attack only a prompt away, but actually the sophistication of AI attacks are also increasing as well. So what didn't work before. So the idea behind antivirus and endpoint protection companies is that they're always one step ahead of the evolving AI cyber attacks that are happening today. So I would very much recommend using the very best, and update antivirus and endpoint protection regularly. I'm talking about every day. Modern AV combines signature matching, heuristic analysis, and detection and response. Now, some of these terms are a little probably you might not be familiar with, but let's just say that there are multiple layers when it comes to antivirus protection. But yeah, make sure it's. I guess the main takeaway from this slide is just because you have an antivirus doesn't mean you're protected. You need to make sure that it's reputable, okay, that it's well reviewed, and that it's updated regularly. And this brings me to the control about updates and patching. Now, this one is maybe you might feel, well, hey, I have Word, I have Excel, and it's updated every day. I don't do anything. It's just Microsoft updates it automatically. And this might be the case actually for many of your programs and applications. But for various reasons, it doesn't always happen. So, for example, you might have a computer that's disconnected from the network for a long time. It's important to manually check that all your programs and apps and tools are updated. And you can do that by the settings on your it's the settings tab on your computer. But applying an update promptly is like locking the door the moment a flaw is discovered, before an attacker can use the weakness. This is probably one of the top 3 ways from a technical standpoint to prevent an attacker really causing damage on your system. Our hot tip is don't dismiss the update available prompt. Restart at the end of the day so patches actually install overnight. Do not keep delaying that update. Okay, that's really important. Yeah, you'd expect that companies just update it automatically, but it does happen most of the time. But sometimes it does happen, and especially if you're using legacy systems, sometimes that manual update is absolutely necessary. So secure configuration, okay? So secure configuration is about hardening systems to shrink the attack surface. So what is the attack surface? The attack surface, again, I mentioned, is all those points of vulnerabilities. It can mean anything from logins to an unused port. Now, I know there's a lot of jargon here. When I talk about an unused port is a port or think of it as a gateway that's open and accepting connections, even though no one needs the service behind it. So a port is a gateway. An unused port is one that's just open, but nobody's coming through. Attackers scan for these open doors and try to exploit whatever's listening or whatever's open. So hardening closes the ports you don't actually use. Now, this can actually require some technical support here, but there's many things you can do to secure your systems from a configuration standpoint. It's not just about configurations, it's also about vulnerabilities. So setting up systems, software, and networks to minimize vulnerabilities and limit exposure, especially in cloud and SaaS, where misconfiguration is a top breach cause. Now, the way that you harden is there's three things you should consider which is that you can do as an operational staff or management. 3 things you can do is disable unused services and features. For example, you've stopped using that app. You've found a better one. Well, delete it from your computer. Delete it from your phone. Remove default accounts and sample guest credentials. So, for example, you've had a contractor working for you. Remove that login access. Somebody stopped working for you. Remove that account. Don't just have it running. And enforce least privilege. So give people only the access they need to use to do their job. Now, that can come across as being, I guess, very protective, but it's actually a very good cybersecurity hygiene practice. The goal is to leave attackers fewer ways in and fewer things to exploit if they find a foothold. Disable anything that isn't needed and tightening what remains. Okay, so let's talk about control number 7. So control number 7 is something that you may know about, but you actually don't have much to do with on your day-to-day level, on your day-to-day role. This can be a little bit technical, but it's important. There are some things you should know that when it comes to firewall protection to ensure that your system remains secure. So a firewall is basically a barrier between internal systems and the open internet. A firewall monitors and controls inbound and outbound traffic against rules you define. Software based on services, on devices, or hardware based. We're talking about here software based on devices or hardware based at the network perimeter. And there are 3 types of firewalls. There's the software firewall, which protects individuals' PCs and servers. There's the hardware firewall that defends the network perimeter for multiple devices at once. And then there's called next-gen firewalls, which adds IPS. You may have heard about VPNs and content filtering. So there are 3 types of firewalls. Now, you probably have heard of Microsoft Defender. So there's a software firewall that automatically is installed onto every computer, at least every Microsoft operating system computer. But hardware firewalls is actually a little device that you connect that literally acts as sort of like a filter to ensure that no nefarious sort of connections or data is being transmitted between 2 nodes. Okay. Now, it's really important to note that one doesn't necessarily replace the other. You can actually have multiple firewalls. But honestly, with some of the technology coming through today, I'd say one firewall, very strong firewall, is sufficient. And our hot tip is a firewall is only as good as its rules. Now, when we're talking about data being transmitted between two places, and you're setting rules, and those rules really define what gets through. Default deny everything that you're not aware of, and only allow what you actually need, and that really locks down your systems. Now, it should be pretty easy to actually allow things. It's a matter of say for example a connection isn't being made or a piece of software isn't working. It's actually really easy to go to your firewall and allow that program. But if you really want to lock down your system, we recommend using a firewall. Okay, so the next control I want to talk about is cybersecurity education. So let's be honest. Technology is only as secure as the people using it. Okay. Cybersecurity education is it so important that so we've seen that 32% of phishing say for example you start off with a company that has that we test them, we do a simulation, and we find that 32% hit rate of a phishing simulation, after a year of training, we have seen that success rate drop down by about 90%. So I just want to repeat that because I don't think I made sense. So if we run a phishing training simulation, and you'll have a company, the employees within the company, 32% of them will actually fail the phishing training simulation. With training, around 89%, we'll see an 89% reduction in the number in that fail rate. So that's an incredible so that's an incredible number. That's an incredible statistic. 68% of breaches involve non-malicious human element. So it's not just about, nefarious actors trying to get into your system. It's actually about accidental clicks, misdeliveries, misconfigurations. We think so much about, bad people trying to get access to your systems or AI-enabled attacks. But actually, training should focus on, accidents, and everybody makes accidents. So it's really, don't think that we're just trying to prevent our systems from, trying to secure it down. Actually, some of the risks are actually from the inside. Now, training should always focus on spotting phishing scams and social engineering, implementing hygiene controls, building policies and a clear roadmap for reporting and neutralizing breaches. But students should be across the latest threats and technological innovations. So they should be aware about what technology attackers are using and what tools they are using as well. What is the dark web? What is threat intelligence? So these are all terms that students should understand once the training is complete. For manufacturing, there is a special subset of training that includes OT, IT boundary awareness. And I think actually this is a weakness within the sector that we've seen, is that there's just not enough training around cybersecurity when it comes to OT. So we run short awareness sessions that are aligned with Dynamic Standards International. But look, there is a lot of training you can do out there. Some of it is online. We could recommend, actually, you could do a LinkedIn training, or there are Google micro-credential cybersecurity training courses that you can do. They're all great. And they're all worthwhile doing. If you don't want to spend too much of a business, but you want to train your workers or your staff, I would recommend micro-credentialing. Getting everybody up to a level, I think, will just do wonders for your business if you're interested to reduce the risk and impact of an attack. And it shouldn't be just a one and done thing, okay? It should really be performed annually, and we recommend also the training should be should be a part of any certification process. So, for example, in the SMB 1001, there is an emphasis on training, and you have to do that training as part of the course. Now, I just wanted to give you as part of the certification process. Now, I just wanted to also talk about cybersecurity education. What does it look like when, how does it help? Okay, this is the perfect example, all right, is being able to recognize, you see that red rectangle there, okay, inside, you'll have an IP address, okay. This is actually, this first one is actually a phishing, like a phishing slide, like a phishing login page, okay. This is a fake login page. The IP address you'll see up there, that's not from a valid, that's not a Google IP address. And also you'll notice that the logo of Google, okay, that's not the most recent logo. I mean, you'll also see at the bottom here, they've got some old, out of date logos at the bottom there. So this is a phishing page. that you can spot pretty easily that this login page is actually fake. This is what it actually should look like. But the problem is that with AI now they're getting pretty good. They're getting pretty good. They're able to replicate what an actual Google login page actually looks like. So yes, this may have been like something that you might have seen in the past, but now they're getting pretty. The imitations are getting pretty good. So untrained staff have a 32% phishing click rate, and remember that after some training, that reduces by 89%. So IT security policies, procedures. This is control number 9. Okay, we're almost out of time, but we've just a couple of slides left. We recommend IT security policies and procedures. Policies define how your organization manages and protects digital assets. Procedures spell out the steps to follow. So day to day and during an incident. So it's not just a policy that you refer to when something happens. Actually, they should define your day-to-day operation when it comes to cybersecurity or securing your IT systems. So 6 policies that we recommend to develop straight off the bat are acceptable use, okay, remote access. So, for those workers who are working from home, there needs to be a policy on how you access data or how you secure your computer. Data backup and recovery, data classification, incident response plans, and a new one that policy to develop that we think every company should have now is acceptable use of AI. These days, everybody, some people admit it, some people don't, but everybody is probably putting company information into the AI prompt, for the ChatGPT AI prompt, in order to get, to get those shortcuts. Now, look, there are, you shouldn't do it, okay? And if you are going to do it, okay, try and find a way. I mean, there's definitely ways at the back end that you can prevent your data going out there into the public. And basically, it's a configuration within Claude or ChatGPT. But basically, you need to tell people how to do that. You need to tell staff within your company on how to configure that so your data doesn't go out. The most important thing, AI is just going to be part of our world. But I think really we're going to have to lift our game in terms of what information, what IP goes out there into the world. So an acceptable use of AI policy is absolutely necessary today. Our hot tip is, look, policies don't have to be, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. We recommend copying a policy from other websites, change as necessary and adapt for your business context. And if you really need some policies, you're free to go out to our website. We've got some policies right down the bottom on our front page. Click on those and copy and paste. We've got a pretty good acceptable use of AI policy, for example. So you're very welcome to use that. But yes, policies are very important for businesses today. Now, we also recommend trusted support partners, okay? Now, it's not just about your supply chain. It's about your partners. It's about your vendors. It's anything to do with your business. Any partners that are any partners of your business really need to be on the same. At the end of the day, it's about the weakest link in the chain, okay? Now, an external expert or team can certify, train staff, and prevent and detect threats and respond to incidents. So your trusted support partner can also be an external expert. Suppliers need to be held to the same standard to close gaps across the supply chain and ensure that third-party suppliers meet the same high standards. So when you're working with an external expert or team to certify, train staff, and prevent and detect threats. You want to be asking for a certification. You want to be asking about SLAs and escalation paths. For SLAs, means service level agreements. You want to be asking about compliance clauses. You want to be asking about a vendor risk register. Okay, there are many things to ask for when you hire an external expert. But he should be basically your go-to point. The most important thing is that when an incident happens, that you have somebody to call. There is a hotline number. Otherwise, trying to find somebody to help you when excuse my language, when the shit hits the fan, it's a real nightmare. So your trusted support partners should be part of your business. We also recommend cybersecurity insurance as well. But cybersecurity certification is really important for many reasons, but it's really important for demonstrating to your customers, to your partners, that you are subscribed to a certain cybersecurity standard. We recommend, as I said at the beginning, we recommend SMB 1001 Gold as a minimum to show the world that you have that certification. So important controls not covered. So I couldn't cover everything. I would say that there are other things that you should be aware of. Now, I think the most important three, I've categorized them here, are around email and phishing. So, fake invoices, deep fakes, email fakes, suspicious links. And this is part of phishing. But, staff should be able to verify unusual requests, verify payment changes, and so on. I'm sort of reading from the slide here, but the other one is device and workstations. Okay, so locking your screen when you leave the desk, keeping systems updated. So not just, your Windows applications, but keeping everything updated across the system. Reporting lost or stolen devices. Keeping unknown USB drivers away from your systems, and data protection. So classify sensitive information. So if you have something that's confidential, make sure that's got a watermark on the document. Some things I've already covered here, actually, like role-based access control. So that's least privilege. But look, there's AI, and AI is an emerging risk, and there are other emerging risks as well. These days, I don't know if you've seen online, but actually when you're employing staff or hiring or you're outsourcing, actually you have North Korean applicants for roles, and basically they use a filter to actually filter out any clues that they might be North Korean criminals. Often they're state actors. And basically, if you hire, for example, a North Korean worker, well, you're basically screwed. I mean, they will steal your IP, they will steal all sorts of things from your business. So, but at the end of the day, that people are still outsourcing. They still look to find cheaper labor for all sorts of business processes, and you just have to be really careful about who you're hiring. Okay, top 5 things to remember. So think before clicking. Okay. Yeah, just take a moment before you click on anything, especially from things that you're a little bit unfamiliar with. Okay, use multi-factor authentication. That's the number one thing. And secure passwords. Small actions lead to big outcomes. So cybersecurity is everyone's responsibility. Okay. Small actions prevent major incidents. So just incorporating small changes to your behavior when you're using a computer can actually lead to significant improvements in your IT security posture. Number 4, report suspicious activity early. So tell IT or your outsourced security officer immediately. Um, Reporting quickly limits damage. Okay, so just because you haven't clicked on something doesn't mean the person working next to you hasn't. So make sure that you report early and follow procedures. Okay, so follow controls and policies and stick to access and data handling rules, even under pressure. So, you might be really under pressure to, um, get that piece of work done, and you don't really have time to, follow that rule. No, unfortunately, there is no amount of pressure that should really prevent you from following the rules. After all, it's really just one slip can really cause a lot of damage. Remember, technology alone cannot stop cyber attacks. People and processes are the first line of defense. Okay, so this is a little bit about. So that's it. A little. If you've got a bit of time for questions, but implementing the controls in this guide will significantly reduce your risk and build a genuine culture of security awareness across your team. So it's really about awareness. It's about culture. We can we can support your business along your cybersecurity journey. Amelia mentioned a little bit about us earlier. Our focus is manufacturing infrastructure. We were recently nominated for some awards in the manufacturing sector. So yeah, feel welcome to reach out if you've got any questions. But yeah, it was a pleasure today, and yeah, I'm happy to answer sort of any questions that you may have. Yeah.
Thank you, Josh, for that. I'm just going to pull up our screen, and we've had a few questions come through. I'll read those out to you. 1 second. So Vincent said, please, what bronze certification again could we consider obtaining?
Yeah, so look, there are a number of certifications that we would recommend. The Depends how large your business is. If your business has more than, say, 20 employees, or your turnover is, say, more than 500,000, I would recommend ISO 27001. If your company is smaller than that, I would recommend SMB 1001 Gold. There's a couple of higher tiers, such as I think it's Platinum or Diamond. But I would recommend as a first port of call, I would recommend SMB 1001. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Another one from Vincent actually is about the password manual rotation. They've been told not to rotate their passwords unless it's been compromised. So what do you think about that?
Um, okay, so first of all, I would use a password manager. But if you're not going to use a password manager, I would recommend rotating your password about once a year at the very minimum. I actually teach at Melbourne University, and we're required to rotate them far more often than that. Um, Now, the reason why people might say that is because actually, it's a bit of a hassle on the IT department to keep requesting, new password. You may have forgot it. But look, yeah, I would recommend rotating at least once a year, even if it's really long. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. I think that's all we have for questions today. I'll just have a look, make sure I didn't miss any. Yep, that's it for now. So we'll give everyone back a few minutes in their day. But if you do want to connect with AMGC and see how we can support you, then please feel free to drop us an email at connect@amgc.org.au, or you can talk to your advisor about being referred through to us. Once again, I just want to thank Josh for today's webinar. Provided some really practical steps we can take to protect our businesses online. And I also want to thank everyone for joining today. Thank you so much.